Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. Joyce, so I'm in a new location here if you're
You
watching.
are. Where are you?
Undisclosed
Have
location.
you
I'm in
have
an
you been
undisclosed location.
kidnapped?
Yes,
You have a sewing machine behind you.
it's right there.
Are you gonna be
Joyce,
tortured after this? Or is this gonna
no,
be torturous?
no, not getting. I'm gonna sew some pants later, maybe.
Oh, that's nice. I haven't sewed anything since like home economics in like seventh grade.
Truly, neither have I.
Yeah. I mean, I can
My-
do it by hand, but not with a sewing machine. I haven't done that.
I remember doing a hoodie, and it was the worst hoodie in the world in home
Hmm.
ec.
I made a lot of pillows in home ec. I made one that just it was like this big and I stitched my name on it.
That's nice. Oh, look at that. That's you're hiding a creative side, Joyce. You could do.
I
You
know.
could
It's like I think it's still in my parents' house.
maybe
So
we'll bring that in a future episode. We'll
yeah.
bring in props. Joyce, we have so much to talk about. New shows, a limited series, faves on Twitter, and I was spotted in real life, Joyce.
Do you want to open with that? You
I,
you love being recognized on the street.
I think so. So on Saturday night, my wife and I went to see the play Stereophonic. Have you heard of this show, Joyce?
I have, yes.
We don't do a lot of Tony stuff on here, but that show seemed like pretty good. You know why? Because I love Daisy Jones and the Six, and it's basically like that.
You were trying to tell me how it's like Daisy Jones and the Six.
It's exactly like it. It's about a band that's like Fleetwood Mac coded and they're recording an album and it's a play but with music. I'm not a big play guy. We like musicals because there's just so much more happening. Songs are great. Plays, a lot of people talking and it's kind of boring, just to be
You don't
real.
like to listen?
It's like reading. It's like hearing reading. You know how I don't like reading.
Um, we're gonna talk about Under the Bridge in a bit, but I just want to let you know I reread that book in 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Joyce, what a reader. Play is like a performed reading. So not the biggest fan. But we were sitting there and walking down the aisle, a nice gentleman, as I was sitting there with my wife before the show starts, he just looked and he goes, "Hey, Chris, you and Joyce going to be doing Tony Awards now?" And he kept walking. And I was like,
That's
"Hey,
it?
yeah, that was it." He didn't even say anything else. And I was like, "Case, that guy just," and my wife, very impressed.
Wow. I mean, that's actually like a pretty big flex from that guy. Like the confidence not to even just be like, "Hi, like sorry to bother you"
Nothing,
or anything, and
nothing.
then just the walk away.
I gotta say, if that guy is listening or watching, email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Tell me what you thought of the show. We'll
Tell
happily.
us your version of the interaction.
He's gonna be like, I saw that asshole Chris and his wife, and I had to call him out.
See,
Uh,
I do not like to be recognized anywhere.
no,
That's my preference.
I kind of love it.
You do, because you're just chasing fame.
No, I'm not a fame chaser. I just like
No,
people.
not a fame chaser, but like you like being recognized.
That's it. I do like. I like the approval.
Yeah.
If you have
Me,
nothing
I'm
nice
like,
to say,
leave me alone
yeah.
all the
If
time.
if you don't have anything nice to say, obviously don't come up. But if you're like just thinking, hey, love it. So that was my big story, Joyce. There we go. Now we can talk about like real things like the Emmys and these shows. You mentioned Under Bridge. I mean, we could start there. What a show, Joyce.
I feel like I need to preface this by saying I watched the show first, like
Yes.
2, 3 weeks ago,
Yes.
and I was telling you that you should watch it, and you were very hesitant to watch it because it's based on a horrific true story,
Yes.
a murder of a teenage girl in
Yes.
1997 in Canada. And it was a very famous case over there. I remember it when it happened at a time because it was like covered in like, like New York Times here for like 2 weeks basically, and
Mhm.
then kind of petered out. But um and you thought it was gonna be like a miserable watch, not that the show would be bad, but just like it'll just be dour and really, really sad. And it is sad, but I was like, no, it is very watchable and it's not what you think it is. And it's like it's not obviously fun, but it's I think it's been promoted in a way that focuses on Lily Gladstone and Riley Keough because they're the most famous people in the show.
Yes.
And Lily is the cop, and Riley is she plays Rebecca Godfrey, who wrote the book, who also sadly passed away 2 years ago, literally a week after the show was ordered, of
Very
lung
sad.
cancer.
Very sad
Yeah.
story.
So I think if you watch the trailers or you don't know anything about the case or have read the book either, you think this looks like True Detective season 5. It's like these two adults investigating this case, this murder, right? And the show is not like that at all. and then you finally watched it, and then you didn't even go through like the 3 stages of Chris watching. You were immediately in because of how it opens. And I knew you would be.
It's so good. Immediately good. Uh Everything you said is right. I was expecting it to be just a miserable
You kept
watch.
saying that because I for like literally a week, I was like, no, it's not like that at all. I was like, it is sad, but it's so watchable.
I'm gonna give you two shows that it comped to me, but I think it's like significantly better than both of those shows because it's handled the story is handled in like a real serious fashion and it's like really well performed. But it reminded me of 13 Reasons Why the first season, and then also Yellow Jackets the first season. But it's like way better than both of those shows ever were.
uh yeah, I would agree. Yeah. I mean, it
Because
just does it does a lot of the same things so much better.
yeah, first of all, immediately in is it's a period piece for the 90s choice.
Yeah,
So you
like
know we're
we're
in that.
always like anything 90s, like we're easy ways.
100%. I think I said I slacked this to you. I love that I'm at the age now where I can be catered to like I'm a boomer.
Yeah, well, we talked about this with like the all the Super Bowl halftime acts. It's like right up my alley.
We are now when I go to a Trader Joe's, I'm like, I don't need my
The
AirPods.
music, yeah,
I don't even
it's
need my
like
AirPods because just play my tunes. Love my
mhm.
tunes. And same thing at the supermarket and same
I
thing
was
when
at
I'm at
dinner
work.
last night. You know what they were playing in the restaurant?
But
Bop.
excellent.
Hmm.
Excellent stuff. Uh, so immediately catered to with 90s needle drops and everything and the fashion, totally in. Uh, and then, like you said, it's being promoted, I think, as the Lily Gladstone and Riley Keough show. Like it's True Detective season 5 level.
And like we understand why they're famous.
Definitely.
Right? Mhm.
And to be frank, they're both excellent. I think
They
Lily
are.
Gladstone is like remarkably good on the show, maybe arguably better than she was in Killers of the Flower Moon, though that's probably contrary to taste.
I think like if you were a Flower Moon viewer who did not care for Lily's performance, and like you're one of those people who thought she quote did nothing and just like
Mhm.
was sick in bed for half
Yes,
the movie,
yes,
she does stuff here.
great. She's so good. And honestly, like I was like, oh, I wonder what kind of stuff she's going to do now after like her Flower Moon breakout, right? And I was like,
Yeah, but
oh,
I don't know if I want to count this because this was filmed before Flower Moon came out, you know.
yes, understand. Totally right. But at the same time, I was like, oh, this is like another layer of stuff that she's able, she's like gonna have like a lot of I think she has like a lot of varied stuff in her future based on this, I would say, compared to like maybe what you would thought having just watched Flower Moon if you hadn't seen like certain women or any other stuff that she's done. And Riley Keough, just great. I mean, it's not like I don't it's not like there's not a lot. It's a good role, but it's not like she didn't have as much to do, I guess, as she did in Daisy Jones, like because she was singing in that show, obviously. And I love Daisy Jones. But she's very good.
You wanted more musical performances, but we got a lot of Biggie,
Oh my God, so much Biggie. It's just the greatest thing in the whole world.
which is
Immediately.
also it's real. It's what happened in real
I
life.
know. I know. And then there's basically the whole show is these cast of teens or young adult
Mhm.
actors who are amazing top to bottom. There's so
And
many
I
good
was
ones.
telling you that too. I was like, the teens are the star of this show, and
So
they should be marketing this around more of like the teens, and like like introducing like Ritika Gupta who plays Rena Burke, the victim.
yes.
Like all the teens just run away with the show.
Ritika Gupta is so good as Rena Burke. So Rena Burke is obviously the victim in this case, like you said. In real life, she was brutally murdered by a group of teens, and you kind of see how that all plays out in the show. I mean, is that a spoil? I don't even. They play it
It's
like
not
it's
a
like
spoiler. Real life is not a spoiler. If I mean, I guess we can withhold from saying who the actual killers were,
I
but
think
I
so.
don't even think like I don't think that's a spoiler
I
either.
don't think so either. But
Yeah.
I would just say this: if you have any interest in the show, just immediately
Just
Wikipedia.
Google. Just there is a whole Wikipedia page on Rena Burke's murder. There is again, this was a notorious case in Canada and it still reverberates today. Like one of the killers is still in prison. The other has been paroled, and has done a lot of like restorative justice work.
Yes,
And but it has really haunted Canada, and I think one of the things like for the US is like I think a lot of Americans are unfamiliar with this case, so I think There will be if people watch this, like there will be more interest like from the stateside perspective, because I also like when the trailers were released and everything, I was like doing some research to see the Canadian reaction to this, and I like in a lot of like Canadian articles about this, like I read the comments. I don't read the comments on my stuff, but I read the comments on other people's stuff.
That's fair. Fair.
And a lot of the commenters were just like, I don't know if I want to watch the show. I don't want to relive this. Like I was around when this happened, you know? But I feel like Americans won't have this hang up with the case because
Yes.
most people don't know about it. So
And to that end, again, reading about the case, like I said, I was expecting just a miserable show. I mean, who wants to watch? It's about like teen bullying, a
mhm.
poor woman, a teen girl getting killed by a group of her so-called friends. It's just awful, right? Even to think about, it's awful. But the show is so, I found like it's it's so handles it so carefully and just really well. You don't, it's not nearly as violent as maybe the trailers make it seem, even though there is violence.
You
It's
don't
not,
see
right.
the murder.
You don't see the murder really. You see some of the assault. But even like one of the most like pointedly like dehumanizing parts of the murder is not actually shown. You just see the aftermath of it. I think so. The first two episodes are out now, and you watched it, I know, and I watched the whole thing kind of like in a couple of days. So I'm actually not sure where the second episode ends, or if they show like her in the morgue, right? Did they have to ID the body in the end of the second episode? I'm not sure, but regardless, you see like one of the things I'm talking about. Um, and yeah, I just found the way it's developed by Quinn Shepard, who is uh was an actor and is a director too. I saw she did a movie called Not Okay. Do you remember that movie, Joyce, on
Yes.
Hulu, I believe?
Hmm.
And this is like just incredible. Like I don't know, I just was like it's so incredibly well accomplished. I found the whole thing just like really, really good. And like we said, the actors are remarkable. All these kids.
Yeah, so Ritika, like I said, plays Rena. You asked me to when you were starting to watch it, you're like, who do you think will be like the breakout teen of this? And I was like, I think the one everyone will be talking about is Chloe Guidry, who plays Josephine Bell, who's this like tough talking kind of badass. She worships John Gotti, also real. And like some of these names are fake, which is also like in the book because they were minors back then. The killers' names are real. But yeah, like that's like a breakout performance, I think. I mean, and but all the performances of the teens are different too. Like I also really enjoyed Ayana Goodfellow, who plays Dusty, who is more of a friend to Rena as they portray in the show. And you see her have a bit of more like conscience
Yes,
about
it's like
everything.
they're all like they all feel like archetypes of like teen characters or characters
Yes,
who
yeah.
like you said, like Chloe Guidry. I just was like, this girl, it's like a
Like that
humongous,
character was like so up your alley, that performance. I was like, Chris is gonna love this shit.
just like exploding off the screen. I cannot wait to see what she does next. She was so good on the show. And then, like you said, like Ayana Goodfellow as Dusty is like the more morally has more of a conscience. Izzy G plays Kelly Ellard. It's just get her.
Just
I
like
said to you,
unhinged performance.
literally get her an Orphan reboot. If somebody's watching this and it's like, we need to reboot the movie Orphan, put this girl in it. She is like absolutely will be in like Smile 3. There, I know there's doing a Smile 2. Any number of horror movies
She's
this girl could be in.
yeah, she's
So
really
good.
good. And then Javon Walton from Your Fave Euphoria, who's also a
Yes.
boxer. He's really good too. He has good chemistry with Riley.
Excellent. He's so
Um,
good in it as well.
yeah, so
And
one of the reasons I wanted to reread the book because I read it, I don't know, like 17 years ago or something. I read it after it was because the book came out in 2005. Um, during I think like the second or third like trial of one of the killers too. And then it was optioned by Reese Witherspoon as a film, which obviously never happened. So that's when I read it. And then when I was watching the show, I was like, I think they excluded some things, which obviously like that's gonna happen anyway, because they can't include everything. So they definitely consolidate a lot of facts and events. Like in real life, there were a lot more teens who are also like part of the investigation, and the sequence of events that lead to the arrests are different. And then they also excluded this one part with Dusty and Rena because I mean I guess I could say it because like in the book, it was like Dusty accused Rena of sleeping with Dusty's boyfriend. So that was
Right.
like her vendetta against Rena too. So that's not mentioned at all in the show. So it's like stuff like that. And then also like the timeline of things of like, because in real life, Rebecca went there like 2 years later. Like she wasn't there from the start.
Right.
And then there are a lot more cops in part of the investigation. So in the show, they just again consolidated into like Lily's character and her family. She's from a family of cops,
Yes.
basically. But the show is, I would not say the show is like your typical perfunctory run-of-the-mill detective show at all. It's not about the investigation of the case, like that's just part of it, but it's more like an examination of the like why this happened and like the volatility and fragility of teen angst and hostility and pettiness and bullying and I like one of the reasons this case shook Canada so much, it was like because it was like violence in girls, right? Because it's like no one expects girls to behave this way.
Right.
So it's like there's no way they're capable of this, right? And and yeah, so it's like about like how just, something that seems so petty, like the stuff that they're fighting over in the show and also in real life can manifest into something so barbaric and vicious. And then like it's trying to also like balance like these two things of, this like heinous act. And then Riley as Rebecca on the show, she is trying like she forms a bond with like the teens and she's trying to she has this history of Lily's character too, and she's trying to like tell Lily to be more, I guess, like lenient on the teens because it's like she believes that a person is not defined by their worst act,
Right.
right? So it's like that thing of like, like try to see the humanity in these kids. Um and I don't know if like they really accomplish that like perfectly well, like trying to do those two things. It's like they're not like mutually exclusive, right? Like you can still do something unspeakably horrific and still have like still like that and still not be defined by that, but like they really try to have these like two polar opposites between them on the show. But that's really what like the show was exploring.
Yeah. I think it does. So like, I think clearly the show has character in the book, I'm sure, but you read the book, which you just said. I feel like the book has characters, I'm sure, like or that are
The book
more.
is like mostly about like all the teens and everything, and yeah.
But Rebecca clearly has, like you said, like her relationship with Warren ends up being like a through line
Oh.
through the show, and Warren in the post event space has really, like you said, like a restorative justice is like a big part of his story going forward that we don't really see in the show as much, maybe towards the end. So like the show clearly has a POV that Warren should not be judged on his worst act.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know, like with some of the other kids, like Kelly is just straight up a complete villain. The entire, I feel like just she has
Yeah, because
zero
like some of that stuff
redemption.
is like real that's happened in real
I
life,
know.
right? So you can't like change that.
But
I think it's more like how I felt like the end was kind of a little bit rushed.
same.
Yeah, so I think that's part of the issue too when they're trying to juxtapose these two things.
And I feel like they're also trying to, towards the back half, it ends up being more about, like you said, it's not, it ends up being more about the community and the idea that like it
Mhm.
can't happen here. Like that's like feels like a big through line through
Yeah,
it.
because it's very like nature versus nurture. It's like these kids are on the margins, and they have been failed by the system. They're seen as worthless. Like even the cops call the girls big girls, like it's
Yes.
in the trailer because they're seen as disposable.
Yeah.
So, and it's like these kids like were never given a chance to, but then like, not all of them were born or like come from like terrible circumstances. Like Kelly comes from a wealthy family
Right. And I think the
too.
idea that it's like, it, how much like the show
Yeah, like
definitely
who's
leans
who's
on that.
seen as like, who's given grace,
Yes.
perhaps, like,
And
in
who has
public.
the legal means to give themselves grace too.
Yes. Yeah.
I will say, like you said, like the Chloe Guidry performance is great, and that character I think ends up not like takes more of a backseat towards the back half because of just the
Yeah.
circumstances of reality, but is incredible. And I feel like the show definitely goes a long way of being like this person did this terrible thing, shouldn't be excused for these terrible things, but also here's why they ended up probably doing these terrible things
Mhm.
in a way that I found like really interesting. And then you have, like you said, like the Riley uh Lily relationship is interesting, but it ends up being like not nearly a main focus point.
No, I like all the teen stuff is far more interesting and the best stuff about the show. And I kind of felt like not even halfway through the show, I was like, I'm not like no shade to them, but I was like, I'm not really interested in like their backstory
I think
and stuff. It just
yeah.
feels like not forced, but just I don't think it's like it doesn't like it doesn't like fit in like, as well with everything else. And I it's not like undercooked, I don't think, but I think it's definitely like less interesting.
Yeah, it ends up feeling less essential to the show than
Yeah.
it maybe. And also, yeah, like all, but it also helps that the teens are so compelling. Maybe that's also the issue. But
Yeah,
uh
and then so in the fourth episode, Lily and Riley are not in it at all. It's 35 minutes. Most of these episodes are like 45 minutes, but that one's 35 because it's a flashback episode and it's about like Rena and her family's backstory.
really,
Yeah,
Joyce, you'll be shocked to know this show made me cry so many different times.
of course you
Oh
cried.
my God, tearing up. We didn't even mention this actor, who everybody certainly knows, but Archie
Archie Panjabi plays
plays
Rena's mom.
Rena's mom, and
Great
it's just
performance.
unbelievably good performance. And I was searching for her futilely in the prediction center, Joyce, because I think if we're gonna get a double
Are you gonna
nominee
do
here,
triple under the bridge?
I don't think I would put Riley in, frankly. No offense to her and no disrespect to an actor I really love and who I interviewed, Joyce, for her movie War Pony. Do you remember the movie
Yeah,
War Pony?
and Riley and Lily have been friends for years,
Yes.
IRL, and
Yes.
they I like Riley asked Lily for like recommendations when she was doing War Pony. So
So love Riley Keough. All
mhm.
due respect. But I think Lily could get in because it's Lily Gladstone and like she is great, legitimately. And I think people would be like excited to say, like, hey, I'm gonna vote for Lily Gladstone. But Archie Punjabi, just an incredible performance, so emotional and definitely makes you cry, I feel like, and that's a great way. If people watch this, I think they're gonna come away being like, my God, she is just amazing in it.
She has it's like a montage, and she has this like monologue that's like overlaid over the montage when they're searching for the body. And yeah, really moving performance, because the other aspect of this is that Arena's family is Jehovah's Witness.
Hmm.
So she, as a teen, obviously wants to celebrate her birthday and holidays. So
Hmm.
she's like rebelling that way too. So there's a lot of aspects of this that seems like too unbelievable to be real, but it's like no, it actually happened. You were laughing about something in the show and you like messaged me about it. And I was like, no, that's real. And I sent you a screenshot from the book.
Truly hilarious. Not hilarious, like just like, oh my God, like how is
Yeah,
this a
like
real
how can
thing?
this be real? It feels like invented for the show, but I was like, no,
That's toward
that's
the end. I
real.
think that's like the seventh episode, maybe. Um, yeah,
No,
like
there's something earlier. There's something at the end too, which is also real, like in court, but something from the
yeah,
school.
no, I remember the school thing too, but I
Yeah,
was that also it's towards the back half of the season. The thing in court, I was like, oh my God, this is just
yeah, but that's real. That's
I
that
know,
that
I
happened.
know.
That's how it was described. But so the
That's
other
another thing I really liked about the show, just to go back, is like it's a lot of perspectives that I like not really, not that you don't normally see. Like you said, like the Jehovah's Witness, all these it's like a lot of different threads that I think, even though maybe some are more compelling than others, it all is handled like really well. It just felt like really like it never dropped one of the balls, even if some of the catches were better in the other sections. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just like some of it being more compelling than other parts, but I just found the way they weave the story together to be really good.
Yeah, it's juggling a lot of things, and I think one thing I like about it too is like you were saying before, it never really feels like exploitative, and I think that's probably maybe what some Canadians, might be concerned about, like they're exploiting the story. And I do think like they do a good job of honoring Rena
Yes,
and
they do.
telling her
Yeah.
story and also trying to examine like how and why. this happened. And it's really an ensemble show. And when I was watching it, this was like literally a week before the news broke that Riley and Lily were going supporting. And I was watching the screeners. This was like 2 or 3 episodes in, and I was texting my friend, and I was like, I think like Riley and Lily should go supporting in this show because it's like it's such an ensemble show, like right from the jump, and it's really not like a detective case solving story at all. And obviously they're missing from an episode, not that that matters, but it's like it's an ensemble show.
They're definitely promoting it like it's True Detective, like you said,
Yeah.
but it's really not, and that's fine, and it makes it actually a
Yeah.
better show. And I think this is another like we're saying, like I do think if you're watching the trailer, you know anything about this story, you might have the reaction I had, which is like, this is a misery. Like,
Yeah,
why
like
am I
I
going
don't
to
want to watch
spend?
this and like
I don't
give
want
it a
to
shot.
spend time watching this. And I think you should actually watch it and give it a shot because it's nothing like it's not nearly as not uncomfortable, but it's not nearly as like just miserable as the premise might suggest. And yeah, I found it like just really, really compelling. And then I was saying to you, man, I hope they all get nominated. And you were like, as if the quality matters. And it's so depressing, but it's true. Because I was like, this should really be. There's so many limited series this year, as we've talked about, and we'll talk about more here with the big Shogun episode that aired this week. But like, man, there's so many limited series. They do like Hulu shows, but
They
maybe
watch a lot of things on Hulu. We know
so
that.
like that's a possibility that makes it in. But I'm like, if it was up to me, I would say like series should be a serious consideration. I think Lily and Chloe Guidry and like multiple actors are Punjabi should be
What
supporting
what
contenders.
what like award show has like breakout ensemble cast or something because they should
And
just give it to the teens.
does this the new fake Gotham Awards have that or
The
Critics'
Gotham
Choice
TV Awards?
Awards?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
when do
Like
these
does the
have
Indie
these?
Spirits TV
Oh
categories
my
have
God,
that?
it needs like something. Can the SAG Awards add another category before
I
next
don't
year?
know. They set
Like
the date, maybe like it's on still on Netflix, so come on,
Netflix
guys.
has a lot of limited series, so it would behoove them to maybe cajole SAG into adding a limited series category. This would be
But
a perfect, like you said, this would be actually a perfect limited series ensemble nominee because
yeah.
everyone is great. They're all working together and telling the same story of this community, and it just is like really well done. And
Mhm.
while maybe I don't believe, I mean, we'll see if they get any individual acting nominations to Emmys. I do think Lily should get in and probably will, but I'm not convinced she will. I'm not super confident that she will.
I mean, like I've always said, I'm concerned about these later releases.
And
Like
that's
it's
the other
April,
issue.
today is April 17th as we're
Right.
recording is the first 2 episodes are out today. And this was originally scheduled to premiere 3 weeks ago. And I would have felt better about that had it actually dropped back then, but they pushed it back, I think mostly because it wasn't ready.
The screeners are very much
The I listen, I love an unfinished screener. I love that. And I love when I watch unfinished screeners and then I never watch the lock cut because then I just like I never know what it's supposed to look like, which is great.
yeah, I gotta
Um,
say they should actually more more places should release like short montages of the post-production work that goes into
to see like
shows
what they had to do, yeah.
because you'd be shocked at how much is visually manipulated in a great way to like
Mhm.
remove stuff in the background or like delete things that you would not have known were there. It's not just like it's much more involved than you maybe would imagine.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think of effects as like CGI
Hmm.
stuff mainly, but no, it could be like totally minor stuff too. But yeah, like I wish this came out earlier.
I think that would have been
And
a big help.
yeah, it was like because they also didn't bring it to TCA, which I was surprised about.
Hmm.
Um and like even if they couldn't get like, like Lily in the middle of her Oscar campaign to come to the panel, I was like, like bring the kids, right?
I yeah,
But they
not that
didn't
we're
panel it at all. So I was like, that was kind of weird. But, and I think like because there was a lot of minimal promotion before the first teaser a couple weeks ago. And I think that gives the impression that like this is bad, right? It's like, why aren't you like talking this up?
Mhm.
It's the same thing of like withholding reviews because the reviews didn't drop until yesterday either.
Yep. And they were good
So,
reviews. I
yeah.
mean, the reviews were very strong. I think, yeah, this show will definitely surprise people. I think maybe if you're like a lot of people I spoke to, real life people had no idea what it even was. You know what I mean? Like
I mean, I
non-industry
haven't talked
people.
to a normie about this, but I don't think any of my normie friends have heard of this.
So
So,
that's maybe an issue. But I'm confident that Hulu will like obviously like promote the hell out of it and like move it along. But you're right, it is a little late, and we'll see. But it is so good, and I would like vote for it all over the place if I could. But
It
alas,
definitely feel. I mean, if we're in like last year's fields, like I think it would have a way better shot. Again, like it's very crowded this year, and obviously like the later release. So I think it would like really need to break out. I think it's a combination of it needing to break out as a late release, and it's not a binge drop either.
right.
So when it's 8 episodes, so we have to watch through May, and then we like the voters would also need to be more apathetic towards like some of these other contenders that maybe we think were stronger
Well, one I
or have
keep
like already faltered, you know? So
you could I'm gonna let you take another bow, but I keep looking at Fargo being like, this is not making it. I don't know what's gonna knock it out, but I'm like, it's first in the odds. I actually think I moved it out now for Masters of Air, Masters of the Air. But I was like, I would love to put something else in. I just don't think Fargo is gonna have the juice. I don't know.
um I mean I still have Fargo in. I think it can get in, and it's obviously this is its best season in a while. Some might
Yes.
say since season two,
Hmm.
and it did like okay, like in the Winter Awards, it got its first SAG nomination since season one for John Hamm,
Hmm.
but I also don't know if like uh there is like I think it can like get a bunch of nominations, but I think in terms of wins too, like I don't know if there's like enough passion for it. So I guess I'm saying like it can get in. But
I
it's like
definitely
it
agree.
just feels like it's not like people's like absolute favorite, you know?
That's for sure.
It feels like a Better Call Saul,
Yeah,
except it actually has wins
yeah.
in the past. But it's like they might like it enough to nominate it, but it might not win anything. And then if like it's competing in limited, which is not locked at 8 slots either,
Mhm.
so there might be a higher chance of it falling out of if it's 5 slots.
That's the issue, and I'm wondering if something is like more has more enthusiasm and pushes it out. Um,
I don't know, but I can also just see it just being like it was this all along, this makes it in, and then it's like these later releases were just like too late or whatever, it just like doesn't
mhm.
take off,
Yep.
and it's just what we thought it was all along. So
Yep. Uh, one of the other limited series that is making a lot of headlines this week, Joyce, is our beloved Shogun. The ninth episode just aired.
the penultimate episode.
Fantastic episode. Spoilers. We're gonna spoil this just if you haven't watched Shogun. Just FYI. Uh, but big episode for Anna Sawai, who ends up dying, her character.
Yes. She it's a yeah, big episode. She first act huge monologue to Ashido, badass, and then she has a actual fight sequence,
Incredible sequence.
also badass, and then a very lengthy, prolonged sequence in which she is about to commit seppuku.
So
Doesn't happen.
funny part about this, again, this is another show that has existed before Shogun. So there's a lot of, and it's a book. So there's a lot of available information about this
Yes.
show. And so I know everything that happens in the show watching it, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
sure most, if you
Not a
don't know,
spoiler, really.
but I'll tell you, they did such a great job of setting up the tension in the scene where she's going to commit seppuku that I was like, is she actually gonna did they change it? I really thought maybe they changed the story because I was just like, oh my god, they're really gonna go through with this. Like it's so well done and like fooled me, even though I know how she's supposed to die, the character, and I know
Mhm.
how they're gonna set it up. But I was like, oh, that maybe they're just doing something different, and then they don't. But it's like really well done.
Yeah, so she's spared, then has one final night with Anjin,
Mhm.
Cosmo, our beloved Cosmo,
Love him.
who had also begged her to live for him. And she's like, no, she's devoted to Hero.
Future Emmy
Toranaga.
nominee Cosmo Jarvis in my mind.
He has a great look in the finale.
He's so good.
Amazing look in the finale.
He's so good.
And then yeah, like she our fave Yabu, self-serving, double cross again.
Just an
And then
incredible moment.
explosion.
Like,
She flies
incredible.
through the room. R.I.P.
And man, lots of people tearing up. I saw a lot of tweets. Emmy winner.
Like my entire feed yesterday throughout the day, because it's on Hulu,
Yes.
available on Hulu, so people watching various hours throughout the day. So just a lot of Emmy, Anna Sawai, 2024. Like everyone can go home. Emmy. this is her Emmy episode.
It definitely, I think so. We got a question about this later. We'll read it, but I definitely think it will be. And then it's funny to me how they scheduled the embargoes and the postmortems. They were all till this
Mhm.
morning. We're doing this
Yeah.
Wednesday. It's not like right after release. I just find all that very funny. But a lot of people posted interviews you could read with Anna Sawai. Yeah, she's just amazing on the show, and it is a great episode. And I do think I put her in first just because like I love her. I feel like I'm an early adopter because I loved her in Monarch,
You
Joy.
are. Mhm.
So uh yeah, just a great episode. I'm like the response to Shogun has remained so strong. I'm like more bullish than ever on it. Really, like kind of. I think it could just dominate the limited categories.
I think you can win series and writing and directing. I mean, like directing could be really competitive, like we were saying last
It
week, depending on
certainly
the
will be.
submissions to acting. I don't know because again, like we've said, it's not the show's acting style is not like the super emotive kind
Mhm.
that the branch usually goes for. And we keep saying that Shogun is like Succession in terms of like the like similar plot and also like the tone and like the comedy too, but also in terms of the acting because it's like it's not really super flashy and in your face, but you need to get invested in the story and the characters. Um, and but I think like Anna, like Mariko, like that performance is the most emotional, especially this episode too. And it's still not even super emotional, right? But I think it's the most sympathetic character.
This is the difference. I think when we talk about this being like Succession, I feel like Mariko is definitely more likable than Shiv ever was, and
Mhm.
like that will go a long way. I think to people being like people who sexist male voters who would be like not happy to vote for a character who's unlikable would be more inclined to do so with Mariko. I don't know.
Yeah, but like in terms of like the acting style too, like it like none of the acting style really like jumps out in your face. Like they don't
No,
have like a lot of like huge monologues,
right.
and,
Oh,
like actressing.
right. That's true. I do think like that could be a problem for like Hero because like if he's the Logan analog, like Brian obviously never won, so like maybe that's a
But
problem.
Brian shouted a lot too,
Yeah,
and he,
fuck off.
yeah. I mean, there's a Hero has a lot of good stuff in the finale.
He's awesome. He should.
There's a
I have. I
there's an
haven't.
extended scene with him and Tadanobu Asano. So good. Oh my gosh.
And Tadanobu actually. I mean, I don't think. I think we were talking about this last week. Obviously, Sympathizer premiered last weekend. Uh, most people have Downey just rocketing into first, right, and like winning an Emmy. And it would be hard to imagine he's very good on this show. It's super flashy. It's super baity performance. He's playing four different people, and he's Robert Downey Jr. It'd be hard to imagine him not necessarily winning an Emmy for this show. But I mean, Tatanobu could easily win. I think if the show just goes like off, he's so good, and the character ends up with such a great, like you said, like the last episode and the finale and his last scene in the show is
He
so
has so many
incredible.
great lines
It's so
in the
incredible.
finale too. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
He's so good. So I feel like if the show goes nuts, like I definitely think it could get like at least I think Anna and is probably I have her in first just because, but I'm like there seems like there's a lot of enthusiasm for her too, which I think will help, even if the acting is not as like showy as like Brie in Lessons in Chemistry or Jodie Foster or whatever. But I do feel like I don't know. I don't know if it'll win every one of these categories, but
I don't know if it win everyone either. I don't think it's gonna be it can honestly be like Chernobyl, right? It won everything but acting.
yeah, it could very easily. I'll just
And
say
it
this.
got acting nominations too. So
I was talking to another one of my friends last week, and we were talking about the show, and he was saying how much he loved Moeka Hoshi, who plays
mhm.
Fumi, who we love. And I was like, I really think she's gonna. I mean, I have her I have her getting in. I feel like people, if anybody's sleeping on her getting in, she's obviously the character is such an like incredibly like compelling and warm character. I think she'll get into. I know we talked about this, and I think you have her into, but those doubting her strength.
Yeah, I put her in once she was added. Like
Yeah.
I think we talked about this last week. Like I have her and Tadanuba. I had Tadanuba in already, but I think like if they're gonna venture out of the core trio, I think they have the best shot because they are fan favorites.
Yeah,
And then she also has some good stuff in the finale
she
too.
does. Great stuff.
So
Love this show. What other show we were going to talk about, Joyce? Fallout.
yeah, it came out on Thursday.
What do you
All of
think
it.
of the binge release model? I'm still not done with it.
This was you have 2 episodes left, right?
Yeah, 2 left.
Yeah, this was like a big talking point the last couple days on the interwebs. A lot of people are chastising Amazon for the binge drop. There's been some stories published too about like why this was a mistake.
So
we kind of talked about this last week.
Amazon just is not gonna, like Netflix with theatrical. Amazon is not moving away from this binge release model on these shows.
I like I understand why, like, again, like, to, just beat a dead horse with my boys comparison with the show, because it does, like, it truly reminds me of the boys. But what they did with the boys too was season 1 was a binge drop, and then every season after that was weekly. So I can see them doing that with Fallout.
Having watched again 6 of the 8 episodes, my hot take on this again, and I'm like, I was thinking this, I'm like, this is probably a user error for me, but how many shows this year, with few exceptions, where I watched the first episode and I was like, this is the Chris, the Chris series of shows, the stages of shows. But I was like, a lot of these pilots are just not what I want. And then by the time I get into like the 3rd or 4th episode, I'm like, this is pretty good. And that maybe is more a sign of me being like, I gotta like be patient and give myself into these characters. But I found the Fallout pilot like not interminable, but it's awfully long.
It's the longest episode.
Oh my
So by
God, it's like 75
length,
minutes.
it is the longest episode. It is as long as the Ripley finale. So
yeah. So that was tough. But by the time we got into like the later
well, I told you it was like Shōgun, because like neither of us loved the Shōgun premiere.
Yes.
Like we both found that interminable. I know other people who found that interminable too, but then the show just elevated with every subsequent episode. And I was like, this is kind of like Shōgun too, because like every episode after this is better. And like the pilot like does what a pilot needs to do, needs to set up all this stuff for you.
It does.
So I am wondering, like, like even when streamers do binge, or not binge, weekly drops, they usually give you like 2 episodes or 3 episodes the first week, right? Like today, Under the Bridge, 2 episodes, right? But if this were on linear TV, like on broadcast or cable, it would still just be 1 episode the first week,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like,
I mean,
are you
this
in
one
or
I
you
think
out if you're watching this on like FX linear?
yeah. I guess for this one I would have said like 2 probably would have been okay. I don't know. I mean, there's
And
only
you
8
need like
episodes.
to book the full night,
Yeah,
like
I
take
know.
over prime time.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I love the world building. I find like incredible, and like the production design is so good. It just looks like $1,000,000. Like everything looks so real, like all this stuff. And like you said, the violence is like comical boy style. And then I find a little deadening, just soul deadening. Like I'm like, this is so violent and just like over the top. And it's definitely not as funny as I think it thinks it is.
It's not like, I think its humor is, it's hard to describe its humor, because I think you really do just need to watch it, because it's not like punchlines or like jokes,
No.
or even like a lot of like gags, right? Like Girls Five Eva
No, there's like,
style.
yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of it has to do with like their needle drops in addition with thing on screen.
Yes.
They have like these needle drops. What was the music budget for the show?
I mean, it must have been as much as the blood budget.
So much Johnny Cash and the ink spots.
Lot.
Yeah.
Love Walton Goggins. No surprise. He's absolutely the best part.
Yeah.
Ella Purnell, I think, is really strong. Aaron Moten is really strong. And there's a lot of fun, like just like random one-off people popping up that I'm enjoying. The last episode I watched,
All the guest stars.
Yeah, Chris Parnell, Dr. Spitzgemin was there. And I'm not going to
I know when
spoil.
he came on, and then like everything with Vault 4, I was like, this is just like Leo Spichemin.
It is great. I was like, that's a great casting choice. I loved having Michael Emerson in there as like a weird doctor guy.
And then just carrying his head around. I'm like, this is great stuff here.
It's really fun. It reminds me, I saw one of my friends who watched it compared it to Severance. I think a lot of like the conspiracy stuff is very much like that, not just because Zach Cherry is also in the show as like a corporate drone. It reminds me a little of Lost, obviously, I think intentionally so, with like just some of the mystery box shit that they're going into. I'm here for a second season. I didn't even finish the season. I'm like, already, like, let's do another one, obviously.
Well, yeah, I mean, it obviously sets up uh a second season. I talked to Aaron Moten
Oh,
this week,
Joyce.
and he's waiting for the season 2 pickup too.
Well, I
So
feel like it'll come. When we talked last time, I think it wasn't in the top 8 in the yeah,
has it moved in?
and I'm looking right now. Drum roll, please. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's close. 1, 2,
Can you
3. I
count?
think it's in ninth now. It looks like.
Are you sure? Did you count properly?
Well, I'm better at counting than reading, but let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
We have a mutual friend who's very bad at.
Yes,
Yeah.
not the greatest.
No.
So
Yeah.
it's in ninth place now. I have the top 8, but I removed Three Body Problem and I have Fallout in.
You so did you already you replace you
No, I didn't replace anything. I'm just saying in terms of like the top. I misspoke there. In terms of the top 8, Fallout is still in the top. I mean, Three Body Problem is still in the top 8. Do not have that. I have Fallout, and I still have Loki and Mr. and Mrs. Smith and The Curse. Those are like my. Those are the ads. Is The Curse somehow in 5th or 6th? Let me see.
The Curse is very high in the odds, and I'm like,
People like
guys.
that show, I think, who are voting.
But I think, yeah, I think it's probably like a lot of experts
Yeah.
have it high.
Um.
But
Yeah, I'm
I
excited to
mean,
see.
if the Curse were in limited, I would not have it in limited series.
No, and we're still waiting to see which shows shake out into drama. I talked to multiple people this week who were like, Ripley should be a drama.
But that more because they personally want more Ripley, or because just it's the show that lends itself better for future seasons?
I think the latter, even though I'm sure it's also the former, but I do think it clearly could have future seasons. And if they did future seasons, Joyce, a great thing would be Andrew Scott would be the proper age, perhaps, to
Yes,
play
we
Mom
talked about
Ripley.
this. There's
Yeah.
a lot of um
You sent me so many tweets. I feel like you must have like an alert that
no,
shows
it's not.
like
It is like my feed, because what happens is like, when you talk about stuff, it's like Big
yeah,
Brother, and
yeah.
then like you open like anything like Twitter, or just like go to a website, and then it's like it's an ad for you about the thing you were talking about. So like I know like normie people who are watching Ripley now, and like we're talking about it, just texting, and then I open Twitter and I fucking tweets in my feed about just randoms watching Ripley, and then like their take on it. And a lot of them is just like, why is Andrew Scott so old?
It's definitely a lot of why is Andrew Scott so old? How old is Andrew? How old is Tom Ripley supposed to be? So now, if they did another version of the show, a sequel to the show, uh,
He'll be the right age.
I would
Yeah.
be curious. I really do think that's a real possibility, which we'll find out eventually, sooner enough, I guess.
Well, like I've said, I hope nothing moves. Because I feel like people just tend to fill out the drama field, and I'm just like, just let it be what it is. It's just like chaos and really weak this year, so that's what it is. We just have to deal with it.
Yeah,
So
I don't think the thing with me is like I don't think in either place it's gonna win a lot personally. Like I don't think Andrew's gonna
you
win.
still have Ripley in series.
I do have Ripley in limited series. I think it'll get in. I think I've only been more emboldened that it'll get in because it seems like it's picking up a lot of, like we had said, the mere fact that it's on Netflix has increased the visibility of it so much. And even if people are like you said, like making fun of how old he is or whatever, they're still watching it, and that goes a long way. I was thinking like this week, thinking of my beloved A Gentleman in Moscow, Joyce. It's on Showtime,
Another
Paramount Plus or
show
Showtime.
you cried watching.
A wonderful show. Wept. Literally
So we
wept.
have A Gentleman in Moscow, Under the Bridge. What else have you cried at?
So far, that's probably it, I think. But I mean, I wept at like a Gentleman in Moscow, just like weeping. Could not stop crying. Uh, and I was thinking like that show basically does not exist, right? Like I don't know anybody no real person is watching it. Not a lot of people are even talking about it. But if it was on Netflix, I think it would be like a humongous deal in the same way Ripley is. Even if it's, you know what I mean? Like it would be very much watched. There'd be a lot of memes. We'd have memes of like Ewan McGregor's mustache. They'd be playing it up. And it just shows to show how important Netflix is to a show like Ripley. Like I think if Ripley had stayed on Showtime or Paramount Plus with Showtime, would not be in the conversation at all.
No, I mean, I agree about that, but like, I mean, Ripley's not even like a huge smash
It's
either.
not a huge
So
smash, but it's
it's just
definitely
like,
more of a smash than probably it should be.
yeah, like it has the benefit of like being on Netflix, but it's not, it didn't actually explode in any way. Like I
No,
think a lot of people also tapped out of it because they found it too slow or like they don't like the black and white. Those are usually like the criticisms of the detractors.
it,
So it's not like a huge thing, but it definitely has more visibility. So I still haven't put it into series. Like I could just see it being like Andrew and like directing and like,
right.
crafts like cinematography, obviously, and
Yeah,
production design or something. So, but I don't really like, I never had any other actor in for it because it's like, it's the Andrew show.
no.
So,
Joyce, we're gonna go to emails here. You can email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. We had a few this week. Still haven't heard from that guy who saw me. He'll,
well,
he'll email. I think he will.
so, I mean, you should have told him to email you
I
when he
should have.
walked away.
I just smiled like an idiot, like I always do. This one is from Tinashe, who writes, "Hi, dear Joyce and Chris. I wanted to express my appreciation for your unique insight and chemistry, which surpasses that of most podcasts."
What?
Yeah,
Unique. Unique is so loaded. It can
I'm
mean so
unique.
many things.
I'm the unique one, I think. Definitely. Interesting is another one for me. Uh,
Interesting is so versatile, such a versatile adjective.
when my mother doesn't like anything, it's always,
It's like
oh,
it's
that's interesting.
wait, what did your dad watch recently? You texted me this. He watches a lot of things.
He does. He
He's
watched.
such a good barometer for the olds.
I don't remember what it was. We know he watched American Horror Story because he saw the Gold Derby.
A shout out from like 2 weeks ago. What did you
Yeah.
send me?
I'm looking now. I'm scrolling. This is
Was it
so
like two shows?
yeah, he was talking to me about I'll keep
Oh,
scrolling. Hang on, let me
it was
see.
Ripley, wasn't it? I think it was Ripley.
It might have been Ripley. Hang on. Oh, I'm just gonna read you the quote.
Okay.
I found the text. My father is bored out of his mind by Ripley. Quote, put me to sleep. Quote, at least he killed him finally. And then he's also bored by Sugar as well.
Wait, but why is he bored by sugar?
He found the whole thing. He was like once with the
Is this the
flashback
first
to
two
Humphrey.
episodes?
He was like once with the flashback of Humphrey Bogart was cute, but then after a while, I was just dead.
There's a lot more movie
He was like
inserts.
he is liking Shogun at least, and I think he would watch Fallout. So
So when he doesn't like a show, does he finish? Is he a completist? Does he still
I
finish a show? Or does
probably
he
I no, they
quit?
do complete it.
Okay.
Mother, when they watched, I said you'll get a kick out of it, as my mother calls it. Uh, Apple doesn't fall far from the
Oh
tree.
yeah, you told me this. I'm like, that's such a mom
And
title.
she's called it that multiple times. I don't even I've stopped correcting her. I don't even bother. It's not worth it.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So
They finished that one. Apples don't fall far from the tree.
that's another easy watch. So
Anyway, back to this Tinashe email. As a 21-year-old turning 22, I struggle to discern what constitutes good art, and your taste in film has significantly influenced mine.
oh
I
God, no,
thank
that's
you.
bad.
Yeah, pretty bad. I thank you, as I once believed, maybe not bad when you hear this part. I thank you, as I once believed the Iron Lady and Grace of Monaco epitomized perfection and represented the pinnacle of cinema. Now let's turn our attention back to the Emmys. For Anna Sawai's nomination as Best Actress, which episode do you believe she should be submit? Episode 5, 6, or 9. Each offers distinct physicalities and performances from a generational talent reminiscent of Lily Gladstone's subtle screen presence. Would it be prudent of Hulu FX to employ Apple TV's phrasing, the heart and soul of the story? Additionally, do you think Anna stands a chance against a more seasoned veteran actress and could use the Japanese and could the use of Japanese in the press tour, even by the supporting cast, potentially deter voters?
Well, that would just be racist.
So that's an easy one to say. Yep, I think so.
I mean, listen, they had no problem with Squid Game.
No, I don't think that's an issue.
No,
But do
I
you
don't
think
think
they
that's
should
an issue
do?
at all. I think if you just like something, you like something. I don't think like it's not like subtitles and like non-English language. I don't think that's a thing. Um, those episodes, I have to like, I don't remember what happened in the other episode.
I mean, I feel like 9 would definitely be the one for her.
Well, for like limited lead, you submit the whole series
Yeah.
anyway, so
Yeah.
it doesn't
Doesn't
matter. But if
matter.
we're talking about like her best episode, like it would be 9. But I don't
Yeah.
remember because I watched this in February, so
Yeah.
I don't remember
And then I do agree
the other
though,
ones.
the heart and soul of the show should definitely be
You love
important.
Heart and Soul.
Love a heart and soul. A little bit
Yeah.
of heart and soul, Joyce.
She's definitely the heart and soul because it's like, Cosmo's the white guy avatar, and it's like a great like flip of the head on that whole trope. And then Hero is just like the cool, like badass leader who is one step ahead of you or everyone, really.
It's great.
So
He's so
yeah,
good.
like he's cunning and she's the one who like you feel for.
Yeah.
So
Um, yeah, somebody's got to do Big Trouble in Little China again with Cosmo and just throw him in there. It'd be so good. He'd be such a good Jack Burton. Oh my God. He's basically doing it in this show. It's so good. Uh, this email's from Matthew Joyce. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I was wondering what your take on Naomi Watts' category placement for Feud is. Her performance has glowing reviews, but a lot of people see her as borderline supporting, which could be which could disadvantage her up against contenders who are the sole leads of their shows: Jodie Foster, Brie Larson, and even Kate Winslet, for example. Should FX consider moving her down, or is she safe in lead? Another factor to consider would be how this then affects the other Swans' chances. I also wanted your take on whether Jessica Lange has a chance in supporting if she's submitted. With the finale, in which she is featured very heavily, it seemed like she could surpass the 5% screen time threshold to qualify for submission. She was undoubtedly great in all her scenes and possibly more attention grabbing than some of the other Swans. Interested to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
funnily enough, I was just talking about this the other day with someone about how Naomi has fallen out of the top 6 in the odds because
Mhm.
Anna has finally gone into the top 6. So you dropped the Swans in supporting. Do you still have Naomi
I
in lead?
dropped her too because I put
You have no
I
Swans.
I have no Swans.
You just have Tom.
I just have Tom. And maybe that's wrong because like obviously like they like the first season of Feud or whatever they did like enjoy and voted for, but I was just
I mean,
like
that was 7 years ago
that's the thing. It was 7 years ago and I was
and
just
a
like
different show too. So
and I just think it's going to be hard to for the supporting actresses. I feel like I said, I think they're all going to just be like, kind of like not a consensus form around any of them. Maybe Diane Lane, I think, based on the odds, but I don't even know if I believe that. And then for Naomi, I think Anna, Brie, Jodie, and Kate are all really set. I have Juno Temple and Sofia Vergara. Certainly, I don't think they're as set. I personally think Juno should be set, and Sofia, I feel like, is the transformative performance because of the makeup and all that. And it's on Netflix, so I felt like that would maybe get it over Naomi, but I don't know.
do you think they should move Naomi to supporting? Because
I
she
still
is
don't think she
like,
would.
but I think if she were in supporting, she would have a like she would be the pick of the Swans.
I think that's true. And then also in terms of the supporting actress category, that again feels pretty
Nothing.
flexible.
It's like anyone can come.
Are you super confident Fiona Shaw will make it in?
No,
Me neither.
I just have her in there.
She's being widely predicted to get in, like pretty safely so. And I just don't believe it either. I have her in too, but I'm like, is she actually that safe?
No, I mean I think only Kelly Reese is safe from True Detective in that category. But I have to fill out the slots, man. Got
I
to
know.
put someone in there, and that show aired and was a hit. So, and she's a past nominee, and there's
Yep.
also kind of like a scene stealing performance
Yep.
too.
All of that I
So,
agree. I was just like, she just is standing out to me as someone where I'm like, man, like, is she actually just as set or is like are people
but
just
she's also like compared to Feud, which has a bunch of women here, it's like it's just like her and Callie,
yep. Yep.
for True Detective. So it's like you can definitely pull 2 nominations. Like we've seen like White Lotus have 5. So,
Yeah, true.
but like Naomi, I yeah, like I understand why she's in lead, but I guess I think she might have a better shot in supporting because that is a less packed category, and I do think she might be like the focus of like the Swans there. And yeah, I think like so like the show just kind of like had no buzz really when it aired at all. And I read you my friend's dad's review of the show. He thought it sucked and it should have been 4 episodes.
Mhm.
And you know, um but the acting was good. So I guess it could definitely just be like an acting thing, like because this is kind of like the acting style that the branch likes, and like one of like my like I haven't like fully gone off of like the Swans like you did, because you know like the show is on Hulu, and we know they watch stuff on that's on Hulu. It's an FX show, but it's on Hulu. So I'm like I don't I think like they still have a chance of getting in just because of that. You know, maybe if this were like another streamer, I'd be like, okay, go away, gone. But it's like I know they like Hulu. And like
I think that's fair. I mean, if I was gonna put anyone in, I would put Diane in, I guess. I mean, she's like fourth in the odds.
yeah, but I can see Emmy like I can see Naomi missing lead for sure.
I
And
wonder if now
it's a
that
great
they
performance, but it's like I feel like no one is talking about the show, and or like even when it aired, and it's just also kind of been forgotten like now, you know, like no one it's kind of like remember like Fosse Verdon? Like I don't think like when that premiered, um that had like a ton of, you know, hype. Like I guess it was anticipated, but like normal levels of anticipation, you know. But you know, as the show aired, like people watched, and Michelle Williams was just growing in buzz week after week after week, right? And she was an actual lead of the show too. So I mean, like before the show was even over, I was like, she's winning the Emmy. Like,
right.
sorry to Patty Arquette in Escape at Dannemora. I know you swept the winter, but no. And I don't think that I think like maybe people expected that to happen with Naomi, because she did have a lot of like pre-premiere buzz too. And I felt like the show never took off, and then like the buzz for her never really accumulated. Um, and so I don't know. I don't think she's like I don't think she's gonna win if she gets in,
No, and I
basically.
wonder, last thing here before we go to more emails. I wondered if like you said, it's like now that they know Anna is, I think Anna is like a legitimate like nominee. I wonder if they'll like reposition Naomi to avoid like that conflict, right? They also have Juno. Like I know it's all different things, but I'm like they're all kind of the same thing, right? And I wonder
They're
if
all FX shows.
yeah. So I wonder if
I
that'll
mean, they
help
could
them move
still
them
have like
forward.
all three of them in lead, and then like I mean, I think we know in general Shogun is their priority.
Yeah, but in terms of supporting, it's like other than some of the Swans, there's no real like neither one of like Shogun and Fargo don't have like Jennifer
Right.
Jason Leigh, I
Yeah, like
guess,
if they want to go for that
but they
category.
could easily go for that category and put her in there. And maybe she could on it. I mean, it's possible she would be. I mean, that is a wide open category, I think, despite
Mhm.
like what the odds say. So it feels like she could actually win there if she was in supporting.
It would be so funny if she switches from lead to supporting and Billy Crudup goes from supporting to lead.
It would be great. Okay. Joyce, this email's from Chuck. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Have you seen Jude Law's reaction to Ripley? It balances the line between complimentary, but is also kind of shady if you read what's between the lines. What is your take? Because we were talking about this yesterday. Great
It does.
EW exclusive from our pal Maureen Lanker.
It also lengthy quotes too. It wasn't just like a one-off sentence or
He
anything.
went in.
He
Jude
was
Law, we
prepared.
know he
Jude was
was.
prepared.
He was in The Talented Mr. Ripley, played Dickie.
Oscar nominee for it.
Fantastic. Should have won.
Great
As
performance, yeah.
Michael maybe could have won. Either him or Tom. Tough. But EW asked him about it, and he said, I'll read the quote. I've watched at least 5 or 6 of the episodes. Like any great source material, it's really rewarding and interesting, ding, 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 to watch something from a new perspective, a new angle. Steve Zalian's version in many ways couldn't be further from Anthony Minghella's, he says. It's very interesting
Again.
to see what scenes and threads still come to the surface, even if they are different stylistically and in their pacing. Did Jude Law talk to my dad before this? I'm enjoying it, he continues. How can one not? It's such great material. You're in great hands with wonderful actors, and it's such an interesting character. Both versions reflect the director in many ways. One is visual, colorful, and romantic. The other is quite forensic and more sinister. Film to me often reflects the person at the helm of the camera. And then he says, the movie, his version, I haven't watched that in many years. So it was funny how many of the scenes are similar and kicked up so many memories in my mind and how well I knew it. I kept thinking, oh God, I remember this, down to the name of Dickie's maid, Ermelinda. I always remember saying, Ermelinda, Ermelinda. There was an emotional level too, revisiting those characters. It's from Maureen's interview with Jude Law.
You know what? I mean, Where's the lie? He said nothing wrong there. I don't think. Three interestings.
I'll just say this. It was an interesting response from Jude Law.
It was an interesting response. I think he was prepared to
He was.
expect this type of question. And I mean, it's true. This version is very different from the films. A different vision. Steve Zalian is not Anthony Minghella. Different
Pacing,
style and pacing.
pacing.
All true. And uh yeah. So it's a very diplomatic response.
I think it's definitely someone who has been famous for many years, understands how to
Mhm.
answer a question.
Yeah, it's a, I'm curious to see like once, like, because he'll inevitably be asked again about this, to hear what he says, if this will just be like his talking point. Because a
Yeah.
lot of actors just have like a go-to talking point when they're asked about the same thing.
One of the things I
Over.
love about actors is they clearly are so good at memorizing things. They can memorize the talking points so well
Yeah.
and make it seem real. I always think about that when you're watching an actor, when they say something, they're actors.
Yeah. They have to sell it. But my favorite, I don't even think, I think they deleted this off or they removed it. I don't know why, but Timothy Oliphant was on Seth Meyers a couple years ago, virtually promoting Fargo. And they like, they're friends in real life, and if you watch any of their interviews or any Tim interview, they always go off the rails
Mhm.
because it just, like, especially if you're friends with him, like he's also friends with Conan. It's like they never stay on topic. He's always just joking around and messing around. So when he was on Seth, like promoting Fargo, he was like, they gave me talking points, and he just like literally lifted up the sheet that FX gave him to cover, and he was like, I'm not gonna use this, and they removed that video. I don't know why. It was great.
Aw,
Yeah, like this is that was a good way to sell a show. It's
it
like
is.
these,
I love when they pull back the curtain on the phony bullshit. Just we
yeah.
have a justified question here, actually. So or it's related to this. At least this is from Aaron. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Walton Goggins is really good in Fallout, which isn't all that surprising, but I'm wondering if Emmy voters will even notice. He's only ever received a single Emmy nomination, which is ridiculous when you consider how good he was throughout all of Justified, not just the second season. What are his odds here?
I think he's in the top 10 now, right? In
Let me
drama
take a look.
actor. I
I'll
think
say
so.
this. He's absolutely my favorite part of the show, and I have him in, but I absolutely think he could get snubbed. And I think the best thing this show does is guarantee he's going to be like a front runner for White Lotus to win, probably when that
This
comes
is what I
back.
said last week.
You were exactly right. You're exactly right. All of this stuff
um
is good. Let me look
he's
in
in,
the odds here where he
he's
is.
in 10th.
Yeah.
He's right ahead of Tim.
He's right ahead of Tim and right behind Idris Elba. I have
Your
both
favorite.
Idris Elba
Your
and
favorite.
Walton Goggins in. And sorry to Nathan Fielder and Ben Mendelsohn somehow hanging around in the top 6, top 7.
Oh, Ben's in 7, so he's out.
Top 6 right now. Gary Oldman, Dominic West, Colin Farrell hanging on in 3rd for your favorite
Colin is very high. I don't have Colin.
Detective John Sugar. Donald Glover, Tom Hiddleston, and Morgan Spector as the top 6. Ben Mendelsohn in 7th, Nathan Fielder in 8th, Elba in 9th, Walton Goggins in 10th.
Interesting.
I think Jude Law would agree.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I can see Fallout being like The Boys, like series, like writing, directing, crafts, and no acting. I think that could easily happen. But I could also see acting noms for him, Ella, and maybe Aaron too if they go hard on it. But I don't know, because it's also like talking about acting styles again, like this is not like The Last of Us, where that show is so emotional, right? Like you really like feel for the characters. They really dive deep into the characters and the backstories, and they have these isolated episodes. Like that's really why it performs so well in acting and won the guest categories, right? And I think there's more of a focus of like a human component to that show that is not uh like that much in. I mean, it is, but like not, it's not like a focus of Fallout, you know?
I mean, the better comp is probably like Westworld, but that didn't get acting.
Yeah, I mean that got acting
Yeah,
nominations too,
yeah,
and like Tindue Newton won.
yeah.
Um,
So I don't know if anybody's going to win for this right now for the first season, but I do think that's a decent comp. I think he'll get in just because I
the
don't.
comp.
Well, the category is not great.
Yeah,
Just
like I don't think he would get in last year. I would not have him last year.
okay.
So like I would have Pedro over him last year
Yeah,
if he were
definitely.
here last year. So
Um,
uh yeah, but I mean I hope so. Like he should have more. I mean, next year he will have more than one Emmy nomination for sure.
he'll have
That'll
a
change
win next year.
with White Lotus. So
Uh, Next up from Benny. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Given voters' dismissal of Marvel, excluding WandaVision, of course, it seems unlikely Tom Hiddleston will win an Emmy for Loki. But what do you think about his chances for the upcoming return of the Night Manager? I know I'm jumping the gun here, but he was fantastic in that first season. I always felt he deserved to win.
he should have won or deserved to win. But that was up against OJ. I love this news last week because the news broke Thursday morning last week. And then like 2 hours later, came the news that OJ died.
Yes.
So once
We need to
again,
talk. How do
OJ,
we buried the lead? OJ
I
died.
know, OJ once again stealing Night Manager's thunder. So, but I mean, Hiddles did win the Globe, which I predicted. I was like, the Globes are not going to go all in on OJ here. And remember, Hiddles' speech was a quote controversial. A lot of people didn't like what he was. He's another person who's like really really earnest,
Yes.
but he's never gotten like the vitriol that like Bradley Cooper has gotten, or like Anne Hathaway or Jeremy Strong. But that was like the vibe of that speech back then. But yeah, it's returning for 2 more seasons, 2 and 3. So yeah, maybe he could win for one of those. I don't think he would win. I agree. I don't think he would win for Loki, even if he does get in this
I think he'll
season.
get in for Loki. I definitely don't think he'll win at all, but it
He
would
was
be.
he was really good in The Night Manager. That was a great cast, like him, Hugh Laurie, Olivia Colman, Elizabeth Debicki. I mean, the cast swept the Globes because Hugh and
Mhm,
Olivia also won the
mhm.
Globes. So the only OJ acting win at the Globes was Sarah Paulson. So
It's so funny. What are you gonna do? Uh, let's see. We got one more at least. Let me see. Yeah, one more. This one's from Angelica Joyce, and it's just for you. This one's right to you. Hi, Joyce.
wow, no Chris.
None. Fuck Chris. Hi, Joyce. Period. What did you think of Rafa's comeback this week? Do you think he has a shot at least one win at Rolling Garros, or is this just a nice farewell?
Yeah, Rafa's back. He returned from injury yesterday on Tuesday in Barcelona. He won the match. So it's his first win on tour since January and his first win on clay. It was first match on clay in almost 2 years since Roland Garros 2 years ago. He looked okay. Like his serve speed was way down. His lateral movement was clearly compromised. His ground strokes are still there, but you can tell like not top form. I think he was kind of uh a little nervous and like moving kind of gingerly in the beginning too. But he was really helped out by Kaboli, who was a UF machine because he committed like 41 unforced errors. So I don't think I think it was like good to have that, the match play and the win on their belt. He is right now, as we're recording this on Wednesday, he is playing right now his next match against Alex de Minaur. He has dropped the first set 7-5. They are on serve in the second. So this will be more indicative of his level because Alex is a top player and he's also really fast on the court. And I mean, obviously Rafa is the king of clay, but he's also 37 years old and just routinely injured. So I can see him losing this because if he wins this match, it will have to be in 3 sets. So I don't know. I mean, I guess he could pull this out, but I don't know. I don't think he would win this tournament, but I think it's good for him to have the match play here. And then I don't even know. I don't think he would win Roland Garros because that's best of 5. I feel like he's just gonna get injured again somehow. It's
I,
like
I'm out on this one, Joyce. I don't know. I don't follow it as much.
I
I,
mean, he also said like when he announced on Monday that he was gonna play Barcelona, he said he's gonna treat it like this is his last year on tour, or like this will be like the last time he plays Barcelona. And he has said before that he might retire this year. Like he hasn't like committed to that, but I think like most people are acting like this is his last year on tour. So I hope like he gets what he wants out of whatever he gets to play. Like he definitely wants to play Roland Garros and the Olympics, which will be at Roland Garros. So I don't know, but
This is unrelated, but somewhat related, Joyce, and off topic because we're doing Emmys. But I got to see the movie Challengers this week.
oh yeah, I saw that.
Oh, when did you go?
I saw that a couple weeks ago. I went with my friend. So
Oh,
yeah.
well, I fucking
Mhm.
loved it. What was the tennis like for you, Joyce?
The tennis was not the best. Um I mean, I already had issues with it like from the trailer a year ago with Zendaya's forehand.
So did you other than the tennis, did you actually like it?
Yeah, I think you know, there's not a lot of tennis movies. You know, I love Wimbledon, but like not like the best movie. And I
Yeah,
thought like King Richard was fine. There's also 7 Days in Hell, which was a parody
yes,
film.
yes.
Um and Battle of the Sexes. So there was that Spider-Man meme going around.
Mhm.
You know? But I think it's the most like accessible and like fun tennis film. Like I don't think you need to like tennis to watch this movie. It's just a
No.
metaphor.
It-
But I think like for so the thing is it's funny because like a lot of the reactions I see online is just from like you know like film Twitter and like film people and like critics who've seen the movie and a lot of people I follow on like tennis Twitter have not seen it yet. So
I'll be
and
curious to see that response. I will
yeah, because
say,
like the like even when the trailers came out last year, the response from tennis Twitter was a lot different from film Twitter, as you would expect. And but I don't like it. I think it's fun. Like I think it's probably the my favorite Luca film.
it's definitely my favorite Luca film, and I'm be not going to be insufferable about it all year. But I was like, that movie is my favorite movie, automatically my favorite movie the whole year so far. I fucking loved it. I loved everything. I loved it's hilarious. I was like, Josh O'Connor is so good.
So
Uh,
okay, so I when I read the script 2 years ago, it I was like I was concerned because it was the way the script because it's literally just the three characters.
yeah,
It's just the three of them.
right.
So I was like, this is like a play, and I'm just like, how is this gonna like translate on the screen? Like there's literally no other supporting character at all. It's just like these
No,
like, you know, people at like tournaments or like
the line
whatever.
judge is like, or
Yeah.
the announcer guy, right? Is like the
Yeah.
only.
And then it's like but I thought like the way they translated on screen was interesting and then like the cuts. I'm not like totally into like the editing style, but like I understand it,
I was just
you
like
know? And then
completely in.
because like also for me, like I mean, like I like tennis, so I'm used to just like watching a
Yeah,
regular tennis match. I think that's also an issue. Like people don't know how to film
no,
tennis.
no.
And even so like you didn't watch Break Point, but like that was not a great show.
Okay.
Not even good for like tennis 101 because like they can't you can't see like what shots people are hitting. And it's like but anyway, like here, like I understood what they were doing, and I think it is like a fun way to invite like just like newbies, like new like again, you don't need to be a fan of tennis. I don't even think like you need to like love tennis after this, like because it's just a fun movie.
Man, it's so fun. I'll tell you
Yeah,
this. When we do our, I'm like
you're gonna
editing,
put it in.
cinematography, score, best Reznor Ross score since Gone Girl, probably for me. I just loved it. I thought it was
I'm
so
not
good.
as obsessed with it as a lot of people are because I'm not like into that type of music,
Style.
like that
Yeah.
house
I
music,
was
but
just like,
like
wait a minute.
it's a good score.
Oh
It's a
my
really
God.
good
And I was
score.
like, Josh O'Connor, I liked that movie. I was like, his first scene, I was like, holy shit, this guy is a giant movie star. And like,
I think he's the best performance in the film. I know there are a lot of people obviously with Zendaya is like, oh my God, like best actress. I'm like, I don't think so.
she's fine. I love Zendaya and she's good. But
Oh,
Josh
good.
O'Connor is just like off
Fire.
the charts.
Yeah.
Off the charts.
And then there are also some good like Easter eggs in for like tennis fans.
Nice.
When I was reading the script, because they show a tournament in Cincy, as a flashback.
Yeah.
And like when I was reading the script, that there's like a scene in a restaurant with Zendaya and Mike Feist. It doesn't specify in the script what it is, and I'm like, this better fucking be the Applebee's because a Legendary's thing. It but for the Cincy tournament, like it's not really in Cincy, it's in Mason, Ohio, but that that was where like all the players would go and all like the tennis journalists would go because that was like the only place to eat in Mason, Ohio. It was so famous that the New York Times wrote a story
Huh.
about it a couple of years ago. So that made me happy. I was like, these are like the Easter eggs that like I
That is
want.
really
So
good.
this is the detail that I like, you know.
Really good.
So
Very excited about that movie. Joyce, we're having some network connectivity problems. So,
because you're by a sewing
because
machine.
I'm in a sewing room. And I guess we'll wrap it up here and be back next week, hopefully in my regular location, talking about all kinds of fun stuff. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. And if remember, if I saw you at Stereophonic, hit me up on email. It'd be
Yes,
great.
tell us. We need to make this like the affair. We need your version of the
Yes.
encounter.
Yes. All right. I'll talk to you then, Joyce. Bye.